news now. South Africa's SAFARI-1 research reactor is one of the top 4 producers of radioisotopes globally, but it will soon have to be decommissioned, making way for a new multi-purpose reactor that should be functional by 2030. In medicine and scientific research, radioisotopes are used in imaging tests as well as in treatment. The project is still in its feasibility stage, though, with the South African Nuclear Energy Corporation having recently hosted a delegation of experts on the matter. What does it all mean? How will South Africa benefit? Let's get a better understanding now from Loyiso Tyabashe. He's the Group CEO of the South African Nuclear Energy Corporation. Thank you so much for your time this evening. And I hope it's a very important story, but one that can be quite complex if you don't really have an understanding of all the lingo involved in the scientific process. So I thought I'd start with a focus on SAFARI-1. It was commissioned back in 1965. So a long time ago, and it's done very important work, including the fuel element manufacturing facility for Koeberg nuclear power station. So all very relevant, along with all the research that it's done. Tell us about the work this reactor has done for all of these decades.
Thank you very much, Marcel, and greetings to the viewers at large. The SAFARI-1 reactor stands for the South African Fundamental Atomic Research Installation. All it means is really that it's a research reactor, nuclear research reactor, and currently it focuses on doing some research, but primarily it also produces nuclear medical isotopes, which are used for cancer detection and for cancer therapy. And we do sell the isotopes that we're talking about quite profitably all over the world. But effectively, what this reactor does also is that it enriches our research and in that we get more into the research publications, participate in the global nuclear research. South Africa is very well renowned for its research outcomes, and most of the international bodies do attest about our role that we play in the research. But most importantly, and I need to correct a statement that SAFARI will soon be decommissioned. Well, it's a reactor that was commissioned in 1965. It's 57 years old now. Sure. But it's managed under very stringent international guidance and local regulations by our national nuclear regulator. Every 10 years or so, we do a review of whether it is still safe to operate, and if it is not, we would have to shut it down. At this point in time, all indications are that we can still continue to operate it over a couple of years.
And for those who don't know, it is situated near Hartbeespoort. Is that just about where it's located?
It's just outside, yes, about 20 kilometers from Lanseria towards Hartbeespoort.
Okay. And now you led a mission, or you're part of a mission or a visitation there this whole week from Monday to Friday. And I see the lead of the International Atomic Energy Agency mission said that this review was a peer review rather than an audit. Why do you think that was the takeaway? And for you, what were the major takeaways this week?
Thank you. So we had the team of international experts. We had 5 experts, 1 from Argentina, 1 from the USA, 1 from Australia, the UK, and another one from Portugal, but now working in the IAEA in Vienna. So global team of people with experience of more than 150 years of combined nuclear experience reviewing us. And there was a specific mandate to this review mission, which they were invited by us to do, is to look at how we can even use the machine much more so that we can benefit from this research reactor, and also give us some ideas of how we can better specify the other multi-purpose reactor that we are planning to build. So as we invited them and they did the peer review, and it's important to distinguish between the audit and the peer review, because the audit looks at whether you're right or wrong, but the peer review assumes that already you are regulated to operate, you are safe, you are sound, and then the peer review compares you to the global standards and the global performance of the other similar reactors. So this peer review came up, and the reviewers have gone back now to look at the outcomes of their research, of their review. But what we've gathered at our exit meeting today was that, number one, just like we produce and sell the nuclear isotopes quite well in the industry, we're among the top 4 sellers in the world, and our research is well renowned. They've said we're actually amongst the global players. That's a fundamental statement. But there are other recommendations in terms of how the specific beam lines that we want to use for other purposes can further be improved. We'll be refining those, and that report will be shared globally, locally and globally, so that we can understand how we can further utilize our reactor, which will give, like I said earlier on, inputs to the new reactor that we plan to build, which has been approved by Cabinet to commence since last year.
I want to talk about that in a little while, but it is all important just to focus a little bit more on the fact that this reactor has worked at a very high global standard. And I think one of the few, if not the only one, that also works in a commercial space as well, from what I understand. South Africa, it's also obviously the type of work or a reactor where, because uranium, let me rather say that uranium is not found in many places in the world. This reactor based near Hartbeespoort, where is this planned reactor that you're going to be built? Where are you planning to build it? And why is the geography of where you build it, is it important, and why?
Great. Maybe to start on your point earlier on that we are the top global producer. We're among the top 4. And there are many research reactors in the order of 200, but not many of them produce medical isotopes like we do. So which means we're on the bleeding edge of the technology. And it's one of the areas that South Africa and the continent can be proud of, to say we are leading the globe. So, and we want to cement our participation in that domain, that we need to have this reactor in its twilight years dovetailing with a new reactor that will take our spot and keep our spot for many, many more years to come. In terms of the location of the proposed reactor, it is on the same yard as we have SAFARI in the Pelindaba site in the border of Gauteng and Northwest before Hartbeespoort Dam. And it's our yard, and it has to be studied in terms of the characterization of the site. Does it fit in terms of the environment, the wind directions, the groundwater, and all those things? So we need to study those under the auspices of the environmental impact assessment, as well as the national nuclear regulator requirements in terms of siting a nuclear reactor, be it for power applications or for medical isotopes and research. So it is very important that we properly characterize it, because for any nuclear installation, we are guided by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is a sub-body of the United Nations. So you can tell that it's got a global look as well as our local regulations.
Now we've learned in the midst of many years of a power crisis that anything that involves the word nuclear takes a long time to build, especially if you're going to do it properly and according to international safety standards. Where are we at now in the building of this new reactor? What will happen next, and over how long of a period of time?
Yes. Let me draw the distinction between the nuclear power
reactor, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is what Eskom uses through Kubek Power Station, versus us, which is a research reactor for research as well as isotope production and other applications like the beam lines. So we are more on the latter. The timelines we're talking about is anything between 6 and 8 years, which is why we need to expedite some of these activities in terms of our siting work, in terms of understanding what the market is like with regard to the potential vendors that can come in. We issued a request for information last year, and we have assessed the information that has come through. It's going to inform our feasibility study that we intend to finish by the end of March next year, which will inform us better to go into the market. So 2023, 2024, we hope to be in the market space for a request for proposal, subject to ticking all the boxes that need to be ticked.
And it seems like there are quite a few boxes. Thank you so much for making the time to come to speak to us about this, and please do keep us updated. That's Loyiso Tyabashe. He's the Group CEO of the South African Nuclear Energy Corporation. We thank him for his time this evening.